Do bangs ever stay where you want them to after you blow dry them? Asking for a friend. Hi guys, it's Breana and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm very excited to be talking to you guys about 5 middle grade fantasy books that I think are perfect for a comforting and cozy read for the fall. Tofu's here joining me today as always, and I would like to thank GlassesUSA.com for sponsoring this video. So like I mentioned earlier, today's sponsor is GlassesUSA.com. By cutting out the middleman, GlassesUSA.com is able to provide over 10,000 different types of prescription glasses and sunglasses. This includes some of their in-house brands like Amelia E and Muse, or even a ton of designer options like Oakley, Gucci, and Ray-Ban, and so many more. All of these are offered at up to 70% off the retail prices. Some of the things I personally really like about GlassesUSA.com is that it's a risk-free shopping experience. Shipping is totally free, and if you don't like what you receive, it's a 100% money-back guarantee. Shipping back to return something is also completely free within 14 days of when you received it. On top of that, if you feel really overwhelmed by the fact that I mentioned 10,000 options earlier, no worries, because GlassesUSA.com actually has a quiz that takes just about 1 minute to finish, and they offer you personalized recommendations based on your face shape and what you're looking for. If you're not a glasses wearer but still need vision correction, GlassesUSA.com actually also offers contact lenses. You can get 25% off all contact lens brands like Biofinity, AccuView, and Vista Plus. GlassesUSA.com also has this nifty virtual try-on feature. You can see the photo I uploaded of myself here, and I'm using it to see what all of these glasses look like on me before I decide to purchase them. So these green pair of glasses I've been wearing are one of the GlassesUSA.com pairs that I got. I think they're so cute. For the other 2 pairs, I got sunglasses. This is the first pair of sunglasses I have. It's really nice to be able to have prescription sunglasses because I've been having to choose while driving to be able to either be blinded by the sun but have vision correction, or have no vision correction but be able to see in the sun. So now I can have both, which is very cool. And here are the 3rd pair of glasses that I got. Also sunglasses, was the tortoiseshell frame to be a little bit different from the black pair that I had on earlier. As always, I will be leaving all relevant links down below in the description if you guys want to head to GlassesUSA.com to pick up your own pair of glasses or contact lenses. All right, on to the video. So I've always thought that middle grade fantasy is just one of the top tier genres. It's one of my personal favorite to read, one of my favorites to look out for whenever any new releases come out, and I figured I would share my love for this genre with you guys today by introducing you to 5 of my top favorite middle grade fantasy reads so far, as I think are perfect for just a cozy night in when you want a little something fun to read but not anything too much, if that makes sense. An adventure story that doesn't leave you drained and upset at the end, because I read those too, and sometimes you need a break. So the first middle grade fantasy I wanted to talk to you guys about today is Witchlings by Claribel A. Ortega. I loved this book. It is a magical adventure story following our main character, Seven. It's the night of the big black moon ceremony where all of the witchlings in town can graduate, be assigned to a coven, and become a full-fledged witch. Unfortunately for Seven, all her dreams are shattered when she is not assigned to any coven and ends up becoming a spare. And when she and the other spares who aren't assigned to any coven try to perform the magic that makes them and binds them into one group, it fails. And that means that they end up as witchlings forever if they're not able to bond with their coven members. This obviously is very scary for Seven. She's dreamt of being a full-fledged and powerful witch her whole life, but being stuck as a witchling means that she's never going to be able to perform powerful magic, and she's going to be looked down upon by the rest of the town. In order to save herself and to help out the other spare witchlings, she decides to invoke the impossible task. So Seven and 2 other spares decide to go on this very dangerous mission to try to prove themselves as being worthy of becoming full-fledged witches, and along the way they start to uncover some secrets and some history about their little town and about the witches that came before them. And as things unfold, it gets a little juicy, a little interesting, and we get to see not only Seven's journey and her character growth as she tries to reach her dreams, but we also get to see some political intrigue as well, which was very fun. This is just a great adventure story for anyone who likes to see unlikely friends have to band together and put aside their differences to work towards a common goal. And I highly recommend it for anyone who wants a fun, witchy, cozy little book for the fall. The next book I wanted to recommend to you guys is a very, very popular middle grade fantasy, Amari and the Night Brothers by bbibbi Alston. This story follows our titular character Amari, who is trying to investigate the disappearance of her older brother Quentin. Quentin Peters, Amari's older brother, was her hero. She really looked up to him. They were very close, and when he goes missing, she's very confused as to why no one seems to be taking this seriously, that his disappearance wasn't in the news, and she's very curious as to why people seem to think he was engaged in something illegal. Since she's getting no help from the outside, Amari decides to take her brother's disappearance into her own hands, and she starts to search for clues as to what happened to him. During this search, she finds a mysterious briefcase in Quentin's closet that's labeled "for Amari's eyes only." She soon discovers the existence of the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and that is where she goes to find some answers. Once Amari successfully enters the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, she finds herself surrounded by magic that she never knew existed. She is embroiled in political conflicts. She has to prove herself to a bunch of children her age who have grown up with magic all along by showing them that she also belongs there so that she can continue searching for her brother. There is a very exciting and juicy tournament arc, very interesting fleshed out characters, amazing family dynamics, relationship dynamics between all of these characters. I love the way the world building unfolds. You get to watch Amari navigate her way through this new world as we're learning along with her. In this, she has to join a big competition and compete against these other very, very powerful trainees. And she finds out that every single trainee basically gets assigned a enhanced power that's based off of something they're actually good at in their real life. But then when Amari goes up to get her enhanced power, what she is given is actually considered an illegal ability. So on top of all the other difficulties she's already facing, she is now considered an enemy by her peers and by the people in the faculty. So there are a lot of barriers she has to get through in order to be able to find out about her brother, which is her main goal. And it's so good. And I think some of my favorite tropes of like found family, of tournament arcs, they're all present in this book, and it's so well written that it is one of the reasons why I think that people should never write off middle grade fantasy just because they're not children anymore, because these stories are really written for anybody, even if the target audience is a younger demographic. The third book recommendation I have for you guys is The Accidental Apprentice, which is the first in the Wilderlore series by Amanda Foody. The Accidental Apprentice follows the main character Barkley, who is a young boy looking to prove himself in his little town by being an apprentice to the local mushroom farmer. Barkley's grown up his whole life being told that magic is bad, that he should never wander into the woods, and he should never consort with anyone who's a magic user or anyone who bonds with magical beasts. One day, Barkley accidentally breaks his town's rule and wanders a little bit too far in the woods looking for a specific mushroom. He encounters a vicious magical beast, and instead of being killed by it, he accidentally bonds with it. Gasp, shock. By doing this, Barkley is terrified that he's going to be ostracized and kicked out of his town, which is the only home that he's ever known. So he ventures further into the woods looking for anyone to be able to help him break the bond between himself and this strong magical beast. I mentioned tournament arcs before as being something I really enjoy. The Accidental Apprentice also has an amazing tournament arc. Barkley, after venturing further into the woods, makes some new friends, very new friends, who are magic users, and by working together with them and unwittingly bonding with them, he is able to join a big tournament, and if he wins, the local magical doctor will be able to help him reverse the bond with the magical beast. But of course, things are not this easy. This young man who has never grown up with magic, never worked with magical beasts, has no knowledge of the magical world, now has to start from square zero to be able to catch up to everyone else who's participating in the tournament, and he has to overcome a lot of prejudices and a lot of behind the scenes evil. Anyways, on top of all of Barkley's difficulties just being not knowledgeable about any of the magic, he's also facing some external pressures from maybe some evil villains, who knows? But there is also some very good political intrigue in this book as well. You get to find out more about the inner workings of this magical society. Barkley is starting to unravel all of the prejudices he had about magic, magical beasts, and magic users. I think the friends that he makes are very interesting. Every character is well developed and well written. I also read the sequel to the second in the Wilderlore series as well, and it was also just as good. I think this is a great one to grab if you just want a light, easy read that gives you that same sense of adventure and excitement that fantasy always does. So I know I started off this video by saying this is going to be a cozy and comforting middle grade fantasy recommendations video. However, I do have one outlier. It is a middle grade horror novel, because I know some of you are comforted by scary stories. I don't understand you, but I respect it, and I have a recommendation for you. It is Small Spaces by Katherine Arden. It is the first in a series. I've read the first 3. The 4th one just came out recently in August. I haven't picked that one up yet, but I have loved the 3 that have come out so far. So Small Spaces follows 11-year-old Ollie, who just recently suffered the loss of her mother. In her dealing with her grief, she has found solace in books, and she loves books so much. They're what she always turns to for comfort. So one day when she sees a mysterious woman throwing away a book into a river, Ollie takes it upon herself to save that book from destruction and take it home with her. When she brings it home and she starts reading it, she finds this very creepy story about a girl named Beth and her 2 brothers who loved her, and a deal that was made with a sinister specter who grants your most tightly held wish, but only for the ultimate price. That is the exact quote from the book. Very tingly, creepy, scary. And she reads this, she thinks it's fiction, but then the next day she goes on a field trip with her class, and they come across the actual graves of the people that she read about in this mysterious book, and she thinks, oh my gosh, does that mean that this story was not just a fictional story after all? And then, lo and behold, their school bus breaks down. The bus driver starts acting creepy, telling them that they better get moving because at night something will be coming for the students. Ollie, with her knowledge from reading that book, tries to get all of her classmates to get moving with her, to leave the bus, escape into the fields, and try to find their way back home on foot. No one listens to her except 2 of her classmates. The 3 of them heed the bus driver's words and get moving. As the 3 kids head off the bus to escape into the woods, the bus driver gives them one final warning. Avoid large spaces, stick to small. Now, fully alone, it's getting dark, creepy messages all over the place. These 3 kids have to find their way to safety while all the creepy crawlies of the night start coming for them. I think this is a really fun story. I read through it really quickly. I am on the easily scared side of things, so I read this during the day. I still felt creepy crawlies reading it alone and during the day too. So if this is something you are interested in, if you like horror stories but maybe nothing too terrifying, I think middle grade horror might be a good place to start, because it is technically written for children. I think it was fun. I think the pacing was good. It was suspenseful, and I mentioned before that I read the other 2 sequels in the series as well, and I enjoyed those too. So there is definitely a lot more where that came from if you guys like Small Spaces. For those of you who find comfort in horror stories, that one was for you. The 5th and final middle grade fantasy recommendation I have for you guys today is Sugar and Spite by Gail de Villanueva. This is a lovely Filipino middle grade fantasy following our main character, Jolina. Jolina is a young girl who is absolutely sick and tired of having to deal with her bully Claudine and all of her mean little comments and actions throughout her day. Jolina decides to take things into her own hands and heads home to create a love potion to use on Claudine and hopefully turn her from a mean girl into a nice person. However, Jolina is still only in training to use her grandpa's arbulario magic, and she doesn't understand that for every single magical action, there are magical consequences. The love potion she brews is extremely successful. It overcomes Claudine's hateful nature, and the 2 of them are fast friends. Claudine becomes obsessed with Jolina. She follows her everywhere and wants to be her best friend, talks to her all the time, wants to spend every minute of every hour of every day with her, and Jolina realizes that maybe perhaps her magical love potion was a little bit too potent. Things start to take a turn for the worse for Jolina, however, when the magical consequences of her bad-intentioned actions start to come for her. There is a huge and powerful storm now coming to threaten the safety of Jolina, her loved ones, and her entire town. You get to watch Jolina as she comes to terms with what she's done. You get to see her character growth over the course of the novel, and I think most importantly, you get to see both Claudine and Jolina kind of learn empathy, and they open up to each other. And I think this book does a really good job of not excusing bullying by any means, but of kind of showing how as children we can choose the person that we want to be, and then when we put our best foot forward and show a little empathy towards other people, that can go a long way. Maybe a longer way than using a love potion. And I think Villanueva does a great job with developing her characters. They're very engaging to read. It's a very, very fast book to read. I finished it in maybe just a couple of hours, less than that, honestly. It's very short, very fast, and very heartwarming. I really like the family dynamics. There's also a very, very cute dog character in it. I can tell that Villanueva is a big animal lover because just the presence of the dog in the story and his importance to the overall narrative is, it's lovely. So if you're one of those people who loves the appearance of animals and the importance of animals in middle grade fantasies, this is definitely one you should check out. And I read the author's note at the end as well, and it made me tear up. And it's just really hit me, especially as a dog owner myself. You guys have seen Tofu in my videos. So this is just, I think if you're looking for something really fast that is a great character growth story, this is one you should definitely check out. And those are my 5 recommendations. I hope you guys check those out. Let me know what you think if you do end up reading any of them, or if you've read them before and have thoughts, let me know down below. Again, thank you to glassesusa.com for sponsoring this video. The links are down below for you guys to check out as well if you're interested. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope the autumn is treating you well, or I guess the spring if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.